Hello, welcome to Card Barrage, a dexterity tower defense game. Card Barrage is an exciting and unique dexterity-based tower defense game for 1 to 6 players aged 7 and up. It's the 13th century at the peak of medieval times, a time of kings and queens, Prince Charmings, knights in shining armor, valor, and chivalry. Life can be nasty, brutish, and short. Castles dominated the landscape for 900 years and were the centers of civilization. Castles had different defensive features, including curtain walls, arrow slits, portcullises, towers, concentric designs, and moats. In Castle Barrage, players or teams face off and barrage each other's castles and castle defenses with cards. Test your mettle and nerve as your walls are pummeled. Castle Barrage is a unique game which uses your hand-eye coordination to win. You score a point when you toss a card and it hits your opponent's walls or castle. Castle Barrage fits into both of the dexterity game genre and tower defense game genre. Card Barrage is a physical dexterity game. It improves your card throwing abilities and uses your hand-eye coordination to aim and toss a card to a precise location. It utilizes physical dexterity to accomplish goals in the game. Tower defense games are a form of strategy game where the goal is to defend a player's territories or possessions by obstructing enemy attacks, usually through defensive structures. These structures block, impede, attack, or destroy enemies. Setting up the game and the objective. The objective of Card Barrage is to hit your opponent's walls and castles by tossing cards against them and destroying their defenses to score points. The game ends when a player who has scored 10 points or destroyed all of their opponent's walls and then hits their opponent's walls to trigger the end of the game. Play passes to the next player on the next team until everyone has an equal number of turns if the game end has been triggered, and the player or team with the highest score wins. The setup of the game is shown in the following diagram, where you're going to create teams, set up castles, prepare decks, set up walls, draw cards, and determine a first player or team. So here we see a setup of Castle Barrage. Notice that each team or each player is separated by 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters apart. And then each card of the wall forming the wall are each separated by a card width, a card length, 3.75 inches or 9.5 centimeters. And the castle and the walls are separated by 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters. You're going to determine teams if you're playing with more than 2 players, and then you set up the castles and walls, set up the play area. You'll prepare decks where each team or each player has an equal number of cards. You're going to extract out the wild cards to represent the castles, and each player will draw cards, and you'll determine a first player. Gameplay. On each player's turns, they'll run through 5 basic steps. So you can draw a card, you can choose to build a wall, you can choose to upgrade a wall, you can attack, and then you'll check for the end of the game. To draw a card, if a player has less than 3 cards in their hand, they'll draw 2. Building a wall. If you choose not to attack that turn, you could build a wall from your hand into an empty location of a previously destroyed wall. You can also upgrade a wall by exchanging one of your existing walls with a card in your hand. And attack. If you did not build a wall, you can attack an enemy using either the lob, frisbee, or flip methods. And you'll see those later in the video. And then you'll check for end of game. A player who has scored 10 points or destroyed all of their opponent's walls and then hits their castles will trigger the end of the game. In a card attack, you'll be using the lob, frisbee, or flip methods. You toss a card from your castle at an opponent's wall and castles. To lob a card, you'll throw it in an arc. The frisbee method throws a card like a frisbee. The flip method swings and launches a card in a flipping motion. You'll be able to see videos of these at my website and my YouTube channel. For attack details, your attack card must cross your castle and leave your hand by the end of the wall. A missed attack is when an attack card ends up underneath an opponent's card, it touches the table before it lands on an opponent's card, or leaves the play area. Invalid cards are discarded without scoring. A wall card moved during attack is not repositioned until it is upgraded or rebuilt. A castle card moved through an attack is repositioned back to its original position. A perfect hit is when an attack card that covers all 4 of the value domain tips of the opponent's wall card when it lands. A perfectly hit wall is not scored. It's scored and not replaced. If you hit a castle, the opponent discards a card into your score pile. So here we see an example or diagram of the different kinds of attack details. A perfect hit is when a card covers all 4 of the value domains, all the pips of a card. A missed attack is when an attack ends up beneath a target card or goes out of the play area and it's discarded. A double hit is when a card lands on 2 cards and scores 2 points. A hit is when an attack card lands on a target card without first hitting the table. Scoring and aftermath. During an attack, if your attack card lands on top of an opponent's wall, you score that card and add it to your scored pile. A double hit is an attack that lands on top of 2 wall cards, scoring both points. You may use the game effect of every 3rd scored card, if there are no neutral cards in the game. If you hit a castle, your opponent must discard a card from their hand into your score pile. After scoring, the defender player must play his destroyed wall immediately with a card of lower or equal value from their hand. If you cannot, that wall becomes empty, and you cannot replace a perfectly hit wall. So here we see a diagram showing the examples of scoring and the aftermath. There's a castle hit where the attack card lands on top of the opponent's castle. The defender would discard a card from their hand into the attacker's score pile, and they would then score a point. On a perfect hit, we see that the card lands exactly on top of an opponent's wall card, and they score 1 point, and that wall is not replaced and will become an empty space. A missed attack, in this case, the card had gone under the target card, would score no points. In a double hit, an attack card lands on 2 target cards, a wall or castle, and would score 2 points. In a hit, you score 1 point, you replace the wall with a card of lower or equal value from your hand. If you cannot, it becomes an empty spot. Here we see an example of the frisbee method, and just like a frisbee, the attack is flicked from your hand and it spins in the air horizontally. It rotates through the air about its center as it makes its way to a target, like a frisbee would spin. So in the frisbee method, the attack is launched from your hand like a frisbee. It spins horizontally. It must leave your hand by the leading edge of your wall cards. It's discarded if it leaves the play area, hits the table first, or goes underneath a target card, and it would be discarded without scoring. You would score a point for every opposing card, that wall or a castle that you land on. The frisbee method. In the flip method, the card is flipped as it leaves your hand. The card turns end over end in the air as it moves towards your target, a little like a gymnast performing a backflip. The flip method. In the lob method, the attack is launched in an arc as it leaves your hand, kind of like a person who launches themselves from a swing set in an arcing motion. The lob method. The end of the game. The player who has scored 10 points or destroyed all their opponent's walls and then hits their opponent's castle triggers the end of the game. Play passes to the next player on the next team until everyone has had an equal number of turns. The team or player with the highest score wins. If there are ties, use the value on domains of the cards scored as tiebreakers. The tech deck concept. The tech deck modernizes playing cards. It brings them into the 21st century. You can use it for any classic card game, and unique game effects create interesting interactions to provide replayability. It's versatile. The small form factor is easy to carry. Wherever you are, whomever you're with, whenever you like, you can enjoy gaming. Games long and short, casual and serious. The Tech Deck is a game platform that you can play many games with. They will appeal to many different audiences, speaking to hardcore gamers, non-gamers, party settings, and family settings. There have been many games now designed into the Tech Deck family of games: Tech Grid Poker, Tech City, Tech Exchange, Tech Chess, Gears of Industry, Elevator Pitch, Cardle, Chronological, Peer-to-Peer, Cardoku, Newsworthy, and now Card Barrage. Tech Grid Poker is two-dimensional poker with card abilities. Tech City is a tile-laying genre-type game. Tech Exchange explores the real-time genre of games. Tech Chess is a strategy game, a chess variant game. Gears of Industry explores the personalized card game genre. Elevator Pitch is a creative party game and idea generation tool where players give elevator pitches to each other with cards that they have to use cards to create a company. Cardle is head-to-head code breaking and fits into the deduction and puzzle game genre of games. Chronological is an education genre game, a history-based game, and family and party game. Peer-to-peer is a cooperative deck building game. Cardoku is a head-to-head puzzle solving game. Newsworthy is a conversational game where you search the internet as a source of conversation. And finally, Card Barrage fits into the dexterity and tower defense genre of games. So thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check out my other videos on the Tech Deck to learn how to play and explore the other Tech Deck games. Thank you.